third session of She Inspires. And I am very happy to say that we have very eminent panelists with us today. We have Dr. Rashina Humayun, Shivani Kapoor, Ashi Agarwal, and Gurpreet Kaur with us today. So welcome to all the panelists. And now I would request our president, Mr. Kalpan Shukla, to give a small introductory note. Mr. Shukla is IITD pass out, chemical engineering, and after his BTech, he also has his PGDM from IIM Ahmedabad, experience of more than 35 years, and right now he is heading the Alumni Association.
Thank you, Dr. Gitanjali. You should have told me that I have to address to this bright and young panelist. So I am going to make a crude attempt at welcoming all of them. We are very happy to see this second season of She Inspired. Primarily, it is meant at sharing the success stories of successful women alumni in particular. As you may all know, fortunately, IIT Delhi has already started making very good progress towards ensuring that we have a better ratio of girls on the campus, and we have almost reached 20-23%, as I understand from latest data. And this is something which is in the right direction. And at various IITs, IIMs, we have specific say actions which are oriented towards encouraging more and more women to join IITs and IIMs. But having said that, putting that aside, what is more important is what you do in life after your graduation or post-graduation. And that journey is pretty unknown. And that entire exploration of life till the time you reach where you are today and share with the rest of the participants, it becomes a very interesting life journey to hear and of course feel inspired about. And normally participants come from different backgrounds, so there is diversity in what happens in life. And therefore, we all look forward to hearing what you have done, how you have gone about taking various decisions in your life, what kind of dilemmas you have faced in life, and how you have been able to really overcome them, feel confident, feel good. And today, what message you would like to share with the rest of the participants is something which is the essence and gist of the entire program. So thank you, Dr. Gitanjali, and I look forward to listening to all these young, enthusiastic, energetic looking ladies. So with this, I leave the session open for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President, for your warm words. And our Secretary, Mr. Rakesh Ji, is also here. So warm welcome again, everyone who is with us today. And through She Inspires, we connect to powerful IIT Delhi women achievers across the world, sharing their stories, alums who are first-time entrepreneurs, successful leaders, technologists, scientists, and administrators. We share stories and life lessons on how women took risks and make it big in their careers. So with these words now, I would like to invite our first panelist, Dr. Rashina Humayun. She has her BTech 1993 batch, Chemical Engineering, and she also has her MS from University of Massachusetts and a PhD from the Ohio State University. She's led product development and innovation in the semiconductor industry for nearly 20 years, more than 60 patents. Most of the technologies we use, carry or wear, has her nanoscale, tiny wires at its core. And she has recently been involved with not-profits like 1947 Partition Archives, Indian Community Center, Enact Arts, and the Mentor Tutor Connection. She is an environmental commissioner with the city of Los Altos, developing the climate action plan for the city. She lives in Los Altos with her husband, also an IIT alum, 2 sons, 2 cats, and organic gardens. So welcome, Dr. Humayun. Very inspiring life as I can see, and welcome you once again. And I would like that you share your journey with all of us.
Hey everyone, thank you so much. That was, you said everything. Yeah, so I'm so happy to be here. So happy to, see everyone else and talk to you all. It's bright, or not yet bright and early over here in California. The journey's been so fun and so long. Well, and short, I guess. And thank you so much for calling us young women. As I turn past the half-century mark, that feels good. Always young at heart. So yeah, so as when I finished my BTech, I came to the US to study. My then boyfriend, Vishal, went to Ohio State and I went to UMass. And after I did my master's, I also moved to Ohio State so we could be together. And then we both got our PhDs, and he was working at GE in Cleveland by the time I graduated. And I tried for the longest time to find a job in Cleveland. I don't know if you know, those of you that are familiar with the Midwest of the United States. Ohio is where he was working and where I was looking for a job. Is the heart of the country, but there were a lot of rubber industry. There was a lot of oil and gas. BP had its headquarters there, and they just moved out. So it was impossible for me to find a job. At least I couldn't. I'm sure someone else might have. And in Cleveland, so I came to California right after we got married, and I started working at this company that's now Lam Research. In an area I had never worked in, semiconductor area. I'd done separations research, I'd done catalysis, I'd done all kinds of stuff during my undergrad and master's and PhD. So this was a totally new area for me, but it was, wow, it's Silicon Valley and I get to be working in semiconductors. I was in Hog 7, it was super fun. And yeah, I stayed, I did different things for nearly 20 years and it passed like,
tell us more about how your stay at IITD transformed you, because our alums would like to know that.
Oh gosh, so it was all, everyone goes through, we grow up, right? We grow up in our college or university or wherever we go, because we come as little girls and boys and leave as men and women with so much. We really become ourselves. So it was so fun. Of course, Kailash was just the one hostel then, tucked in one corner behind the moat, all that stuff. and all the boys hostels were on the other side, and we were 11 of us in that batch at that time, and we had decided that no, we're not going to be, we're going to be everywhere. So a few of us, we would bike, whatever, it was some EDLC event, some other thing at Kumal or wherever, we would just show up. You would take our bikes and go all the way and just show up. And it was, I guess, and then it would just suddenly be, oh my goodness, ye kyun aa gayi? Or, oh my goodness, ye aa gayi? Phir aa gayi? So yeah, we just, and whatever, it was so much fun making sure that, the 11 of us made enough noise to equal, our fair share of whatever at that time, 100, 150, 200, whatever the number should have been. Yeah, and then when in my second year, I met Vishal, and, we used to study together. We used to do whatever, this, that. And then, of course, we were, as time passed, we got together and, but the future was just whatever it was. We had no idea where it would take us because, he had wanted to be very corporate, wanted to, do an MBA, stay in India, and I wanted to come to the US. And then over time, we both decided, he decided that he would come to the US as well. And we went to our separate ways. But that's another story. But I don't know if you want to hear more stories about times at IIT. And I want to take...
You would like to share one or two.
One or two, yeah.
Quickly, yeah.
So I used to be so nervous speaking in front of, group, and especially I would most usually be, whether it's a toot or whatever else it is, it'd be just, the one turkey who would stand up and say something, and I'd always be shaking. So at one point, two of us, a friend of mine, Anju Gupta, I don't know, some of you might know her. We decided we got to do something, again, we'll be there, make noise. And we volunteered to compare the music night. Hopefully you still have music nights, because those used to be so fun. And it was, oh my gosh, the two of us were trying to tell jokes, make pattas, whatever, and introduce the speakers. And there were everyone in the hall would be just making sure to try and boo us down or whatever, make so much noise that it was so fun and so nerve-wracking. But I think that got me over my fear of standing up and speaking in public. So just little experiences like that. And yeah, I think it transformed me. Going to IIT, growing up there.
Some of your favorite teachers?
Oh gosh, my favorite teachers. Professor Bhaskarwar. He was new then. I think he had just joined IIT, and he was the sweetest. He used to teach with his quiet voice, and then I ended up doing research with him. So he was one of my favorite teachers. Another one was Professor Amar. He's not there anymore. But if there's chemis, they might have heard stories of him. He had these tutes where he would just really tear people apart. And he would always call me. He would always, in the tute, they'd be hiding somewhere in the back. This design was one of the hardest courses in chemi. And then he would say, oh, Ladki kahan hai? Idhar aao. And I just shaking, I would go to the board. Chalo, let's do this. And, but that those are things that you remember, and they teach you how to be really strong from the inside and the outside. And then you realize that these people, Professor Amar, he did what, he had his own style of teaching, but he really cared for each student. He knew he would interview us and have his background, and, he would write it down in his notebook. He said, cha, this is, yeah. So those two are the most memorable for me. There are so many other great professors. And another one, yeah. I'd take the last one, course in science and humanism. I forget what's the name. Oh gosh, it's coming to me. It's early in the morning. But he had done a little piece on natural gardening, and that's where I get my organic gardening, gray cells from. All right, so enough about me. I'd love to hear from everyone else.
Yeah, I just would like to ask, you have your BTech, then after that you went for a PG course and then a PhD. You also had kids. So how challenging it was? How difficult?
Well, it was a lot of fun. It was very messy. It was always, running from one place to the other, either dropping someone at daycare, picking up the other one, koi bimar hai, something or the other. So it always, but I think I wouldn't have it any other way. I think having kids made me a better engineer. it definitely taught me how to optimize my time and optimize my priorities and be very, okay, this is what need to be done now. And, whatever it is, right? This whatever project or this, if we have to talk to Intel, we have to talk to this other, whatever it is, it was, okay, focus, this is it. We have this much time because, if a kid needs to be picked up at 6 o'clock, that kid needs to be picked up at 6 o'clock. So just get it done.
A piece of advice for the young alums. Advice.
Oh gosh, advice. I'd say go for it. Really, whatever it is that comes to your mind at any point in time, go for it. And sometimes that may be taking a sidestep. Sometimes it may be whatever. It's not the end of the road. It's never the end of the road. So you can sometimes take a little side path if you need to, or whatever it is, or go explore something else, which is what I'm doing right now. Stepping away from tech and doing more social work. I may come back to tech, but it's an experience. I would say go for it, collect experiences and enjoy life. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. One last small question to you. Since I also belong to environment, I just was a little curious. How did someone working into semiconductors and all that got into environment?
Ahmad, yeah, so I'd always had that little bit of a streak in me. My master's was actually environmental engineering. It was very similar to chemi kind of work. And then I came back to hardcore chemi. So I had that in me. And then when I was taking my sabbatical from tech, this was one of the things, it just popped up. Someone said, hey, the city's looking, I've been talking to one of the other commissioners and they said, would you like to join and help? And I looked at it and said, hey, why not? And that's kind of a lot of what I've been doing lately is, hey, why not? And it's been really fascinating. A, working in a small, local government, and then B, working in an area that I'm passionate about. And then knowing that whatever small, however it is, you can make a difference and you can just learn more, grow more. Yeah, it's always been a passion of mine, but I never realized that I could come back to it and do something in that area, even if I was, way somewhere else at some point in time.
So thank you so much, Dr. Humayun. Wonderful to hear it from you and your piece of advice and how you could manage so many things together. And you are a true inspiration for all of us. Thank you so much for joining us today. I can understand it's early morning still. Thank you so much for sparing out time for us and talking to all of us. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
wonderful.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Please stay connected. We'll have other panelists as well. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. So now I would like to invite Shivani Kapoor, founder Think Startup, and she is a BTech from 1996 batch. Think Startup is a serial entrepreneur and startup mentor. She has a successful track record of building and managing high-impact, value-creating startups. A graduate from IIT Delhi, executive MBA from IIM Calcutta. She has 20 plus years of experience in the corporate sector and in entrepreneurship. And with her latest venture, Think Startup, she is on a mission to nurture a spirit of entrepreneurship and leadership in today's youth. Also passionate about supporting women entrepreneurs and is a mentor to several women-led startups. So welcome, Shivani.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah. So as you have just heard Dr. Humayun, so once again, warm welcome for connecting with us today. It's our pleasure that you could join us. And I would like to know about your journey. Yeah. And specifically your stay at IITD, how it transformed you and made you a better person.
Sure. So thank you so much. Happy to be here. And Rashina, really, enjoyed hearing your story as well, and great to connect. I'm sure we had some overlap at Kailash, but I'm sure with a lot of common people that we know. So wonderful to be here. And Mr. Shukla, so happy to hear that IIT has now 20+% women. I think it is extremely heartening. I think as Rashina, in your batch, you had 11, our batch had 14. And I think because of that, it was such a unique experience to be a woman at IIT, a girl at IIT in the 1990s, because you were in such a minority. And because you were in a minority, you form very close associations, with the other Kailashites in your batch, and those relationships stay with you, and they have been a large part of my journey in the last 20 years. In fact, we are all in touch, all 14 of us, and we're actually planning a reunion next year, close to our 25th year, which actually it is our 25th year. It was our 25th reunion last year, but because of COVID, we weren't able to get together. But hopefully IIT will have that, and if not, the Kailash reunion is happening next year.
You can get in touch with us. We'll plan a session for you.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
So I mean, I think I think for all of us, IIT has been a place of transformation. We come in with very different backgrounds. We come in, from small towns, big towns, government schools, private schools, and then we are just put into this melting pot where it is a high pressure environment. You come from places where you're the top performer from every school, and now you're in a place where you're just average, right? And so it's a whole experience that one goes through and kind of learns to deal with. So I think for me, the first 6 months was culture shock, and I had come from DPS RKP, and there were there was and a very sort of homogeneous kind of friend group, but having to interacting with people from different states, different cultures, I think it really does shape you. And moving to when I graduated in 1996, it was the boom of the IT sector, right? And Infosys and all of these companies were just starting out. So, I did civil engineering, but then I did end up in the IT sector. And Infosys was at that point 3,000 employees when I joined. And I spent a good 8 years at Infosys. And I think that was an amazing, amazing journey. Great startup out of India. I saw it grow from 3,000 to 30,000 employees in the 7-8 years that I was there. And that kind of started my whole career path, right? I mean, it was Mr. Narayan Murthy and the kind of example that he set, even in the cafeteria, he'll be standing in line in front of everybody. So, it was a really great company to start out one's career with. And because it was a growing company, there was a huge amount of opportunity for career growth. So very quickly, I went from being sort of a database specialist to being a project manager to then being an account manager, and then moved to the US and managed several client accounts for Infosys in the US. In fact, Apple was one of them. So while I was there, we actually built the first Apple iStore, and that was an amazing experience. So Infosys, happened because that I would say was my bhed chal decision, because IT sector and everyone was joining it, and that's where the kind of cool thing was happening. So went there. But along the way, 8-9 years in, I realized that I'd really not thought about, what makes me tick. And at some point, I just didn't find that journey of corporate career kind of exciting enough. And I felt like I needed to do something different. And I'm an accidental entrepreneur. My kids happened around that same time. So that's when I was kind of scratching my head and saying, hey, corporate career is just, even if I keep working for 20 years, what am I going to do? And on the other hand, I had these young kids and who I didn't want to put into daycare. And I was kind of struggling with those life choices. And as luck would have it, at that time, I moved back to India from the US, and my batchmate from IIT Delhi 96 batch, Pooja Goyal, was my neighbor in India, and we started brainstorming, and just over, park sessions, we said, yeah, corporate career is not working, let's do something. And the two of us then started our first venture together. So that's why I'm saying, the IIT relationships have really shaped and guided my career in so many ways. And so we started.
Anything special about the campus life of those days? Anything special? Your favorite professor, some course that you really enjoyed and you still remember a few things?
So many.
I like to highlight.
Yeah, so many. Professor Shashi Mathur comes to mind. Funnily enough, one of the professors who's always stayed with me is not from civil engineering, but from the management department, Dr. Kanika Behel, and she's still, she's still there in the management department. And I remember that one theory that she taught, if I look back, it's the first thing that comes to my mind that I learned at IIT. It was Maslow's need hierarchy theory. And that really kind of opened up my mind to a whole different world that, civil engineering and psychology. And so a lot of wonderful memories from IIT.
So other than that, some of the challenges, I think this work-life balance, kids you already mentioned.
Yeah, so as continuing the life's journey, really, then the first startup I did was in early years education, which kind of brought all the pieces of my life together. Young kids wanting to have a career, but not wanting to give up on, the work-life balance. And that startup went through a very beautiful bootstrap journey, didn't take any funding consciously because we wanted to be in control. We didn't want, that we create another job for ourselves. And that company actually grew to, in Gurgaon where I live, it grew to 5 centers with with some consulting work that we were doing, and we actually got acquired by a larger player. So Clay, which is a large player in early years education, we actually they acquired us 3 years back. And that again, working with a funded startup at that point gave me another insight into how one thinks about growth. So I think Infosys for me was like, the kind of bottom-up experience of a startup. The early years education was a bootstrap startup, and then this working with a funded company kind of closed the loop for me in terms of my understanding of the whole startup space, and how one looks at growth based on Excel sheets and numbers and just kind of goes after it no matter what, come what may, numbers have to happen. So that was interesting. And about a year and a half back, when I completed my term there, then I was kind of scratching my head and thinking, what do I do next? And the space that excited me was really to say, because of my own life journey, I think I had learned that, yes, there's education, and there's also there's application of education, and also an understanding of your own self and what you're capable of, which comes when you kind of let your mind open, right? Saying, what can I do, with the whole entrepreneurship experience. So that's when, again, I sat down with another IITian. This is a batch of 91, Sanjeeva Shivesh, and he and I are now co-founders in this next startup, which is Think Startup. And, we kind of said, how can we bring entrepreneurial thinking, self-awareness, 21st century skills into the school system and help students keep that creativity and innovation alive? So now we are working with schools and running entrepreneurship education curriculum for schools, youth, college students, and beyond, incubation as well. So that's the journey. A lot of IIT connects through the whole life journey.
Actually, we are also at IIT-DA, we are also working for the startup ecosystem. So it's really nice to hear from you. And I'm sure somewhere you can also get associated with what we are doing. And it is going to help us a lot as well. That's so good.
That will be wonderful. In fact, I have to tell you, on 14th, we are actually having an event at IIT Delhi. We are actually running a pan-India event called Youth Ideathon, along with CBSE and Skill Development Ministry. And the grand finale is actually happening at IIT Delhi on 14th. So I'm really looking forward to being back on campus and having some anda paratha or something, I guess.
So great listening to you. And now my last question to you.
Yeah, sure.
Your piece of advice to the alums who just graduated and to the ones who are still students?
Sure. So I would really say that, stay connected with your inner self as well, because each one of us, I feel each person, life is a startup in my mind, right? So you have to kind of say, who am I? What am I capable of? And look for the right opportunity for yourself. So, and in today's world, there's so many opportunities, right? So it's not just one thing that you can do. You can learn so much. There is so much access to information and self-development that is there. So always look for something you're passionate about and go after it.
Staying connected, go for it. So thank you so much.
Can I take half a minute, Dr. Gitanjali?
Yeah, please.
Oh, thanks. Shivani, I have a small request also, since I heard you. And as Dr. Gitanjali mentioned, we are very keen to have a kind of a slightly different approach towards developing a startup ecosystem, which of course IIT Delhi alum are very well known about their successes and the kind of say entrepreneurial spirit that we have been able to build on the campus. We would like to understand from you over a period of time, sometime, as to what is it that we can indeed do to inculcate this spirit in the right manner. I mean, rather than being fascinated about unicorn building up, how is it that we make them a little more realistic, slightly rational about their approach, and also give them inputs in a systematic manner by which they actually build a successful startup. So somewhere we will come back to you and we'll bring you back to the campus. So we will take your help on this. Thank you.
I would love to. Thank you so much for saying that. And this is absolutely my area of passion, and I would love to contribute in any way.
Great. You're welcome. You're informal executive committee member then.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much, Shivani. Wonderful to have you with us today and also hearing from you. So thank you. And now I would like to invite Ashi Agarwal, BTech batch of 2020. She was awarded with Director's Gold Medal during the Convocation 2020. She led BSW during her IIT days. And currently she's working as a consultant at Kearney Management Consulting, engaged in social endeavors like Catalyst, Blood Connect, and TFI. Also works as a mentor with Global Governance Initiative, the role which involves public policy making. So welcome, Ashi.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, Ms. Geeta.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us today. And you actually passed out very, very recently. So because the first two panelists, they were from the 90s. You are from 2020. Yeah. So definitely would like to hear about your journey at IITD, how it transformed you, what were some of the things that you pursued and you still are like into them, and all that journey. So please share your thoughts.
Sure, I'll try my best, definitely. I think you stole my thunder, because that's exactly the intro I was aiming for, because I think the ask that was there for me to explain my journey post IITD was the easiest out of the entire panel group, because technically it's still story in making and I'm still yet to learn a lot of things, taking a lot of inputs from everybody. It's more of like a learning experience than like I think would be like more of a learning experience from me being on this panel today, hearing from the wonderful words that the two panelists had to say before me, and looking forward to the fourth one as well. The common synergy that I think flows amongst all of us is we are, and I think throughout our lives, we will be connected to IITD and that remains at heart, and it's super refreshing to know that that bond is still prevalent in somebody as experienced as Rashima or Shivani's age as well. That's still very inspiring in a sense. So I think if I have to sum up my journey post IITD, I think I would begin by saying that I wanted to explore as many opportunities I can and continue to do that till date, and I think that's who I am. That's what describes me. So I was selected to be I've selected for A.T. Kearney as and joining as a business analyst in the capacity of business analyst, and I joined them in November last year. So we'll be completing an year in another 2-3 weeks. So still that young, still into the word so young. But then during the journey, I wanted to contribute to the COVID mission and try to put in whatever capacity I could last year when all of us were dealing with so much. So I spent time with Apollo 247, which is the teleconsultation arm of Apollo Enterprises, and helped in devising their COVID strategy and helped in onboarding the teleconsultation arm. The intent was to reach as many people as you can and as many people as you could who would be needing of healthcare but are like limited because of accessibility constraints. So that was the intent. Learned a lot, got to make good contacts, got to see real ground impact. Post that, I also started working with TFI in the capacity of a teaching assistant, became the maths teacher or the math didi for a wonderful group of 40-50 girls in Mehrauli, Delhi, and who were restricted with the education being in government schools, and the plight of the government schools is something we can't shy from. So they weren't having their classes and stuff. So got to be a part of that. Like you already said, I had close connections with That Connect, led as the vice president at India level while I was in college, and still continue to be a close volunteer, alum, advisory member, so on and so forth.
Tell us something more about your stay at IITD.
Okay, sure, can do that. Definitely can do that. So if I'll start from the real start, I came from like a very small, humble city, and my birth city is Bareilly, famous for its jhumkas and whatnot, but it's not that glamorous as portrayed in Bollywood movies. So very confused, had a lot of self-doubts of whether whether I belong to the place of IITD with so many brilliant minds, so many brilliance in all directions possible, trying to fit in not only academically, but let's say on a holistic personality level, had limited options of, let's say, having a holistic personality while growing up, be it in form of skill development.
Favorite teachers, hostel life.
Sure.
Yeah, rendezvous. So quickly, if you could just like summarize the things.
Sure.
How your stay specifically transformed you. IITD stay.
Yeah, so I think I'll pick up from the last word that I said, that I wanted to make a place for myself in IIT Delhi. And that's why I tried to explore as many opportunities that came my way. Led BSW, got to work with That Connect, also was a part of Catalyst, which is an NGO working in the space of women empowerment and like women grooming and preparing them for the corporate world. Yeah, so I think that all of those experiences made the person who I am today, because like I think the story is relevant from Rashima's time as well, that not a lot of representation comes in like leadership positions. So even when I was the BSW Deputy General Secretary, I really had to, let's say, enforce what I had to say to be heard or something, or let's say absolutely valid data points or absolutely valid proven theories to speak what I'm able to speak. Otherwise it was easy to get lost. So I think that was that. Coming to my favorite professors, I think it would definitely be Professor Mahim Sagar from Department of Management Science. I think he didn't taught us marketing, he taught us more than that. So definitely him. In my department would be Professor Wajid Ali. He was also my BTP advisor. And he also taught us a lot of valuable lessons, life lessons, if I could say that. Favorite hostel memory, if I have to say something, I think, let me think. I think it'll be chilling in my room with my friends and like coming after a very tired day and still like discussing what clothes we would have to wear because we have a party to go to, or we are like celebrating some small victory or small win. So I think that remains close to my heart. And like, I mean, yeah, definitely that. Also, 101 juniors coming to my room for at any hours of time, at any point of time, or like asking for any advice, and like me saying, okay, abhi ho gaya, let's do it tomorrow or something, is also very, very close to my heart. So I guess, yeah, that's all I would have to say on my journey in IIT Delhi and how it has been.
Challenges that you encountered during your journey, some specific challenges?
Yeah. So if I have to specifically say something, I mean, I would say it would be my pre-selection time, or the election time of the when I was contesting for the post of BSW Deputy General Secretary. So controversial topic, but then again, politics is something which is not very keen at IIT Delhi, and I got pushed back specifically because I was a girl, and yeah, and that made me stronger. I had my support system, and I'm grateful for my support system that I had during that time, and still have, because of whom I was able to overcome it. But then, yeah, I think that was something which was very, very heartbreaking, because you felt helpless. It was something that was beyond your control, and it stopped you from doing something which you are absolutely passionate about, which you absolutely want to continue and contribute to. And yeah, so I think it would be that.
Your piece of advice?
I think I still share a lot of advice in the juniors, because a lot of them are still in my contact. But then if I have to still say something, it would be, don't shy away from exploring, or like doing whatever your heart says that should be done, be it putting in some extra hours, be it about, like, let's say, managing 100 things. If you can't do it, I don't think anybody else can do it. So I think that's all worth it. At the end, it all comes up as a good, nice piece of work.
Thank you so much, Arshi. Wonderful to hear your journey, and you've done quite a lot. I really am so amazed to hear all that. And you've done quite a lot in terms of these volunteering experiences as well, like teaching, and then into your COVID mission and all that you've done. And I would definitely recommend that please go for e-selections next time. Good. I'm sure you could be part.
I was about to say that, Dr. Gitanjali, I'm sure you will find politics everywhere. Unfortunately, we also can't say that there is no politics in Alumni Association. But having said that, we actually need people like you, those who have enthusiasm and interest in doing something meaningful for the alumni, for the institute. We actually would be very happy to support you. And therefore, as Dr. Gitanjali said, in fact, this year also we have 6 women in our 21-member team. Last year we had 7, but here we should actually have more than 50%. So I wish that all of you who are interested, like-minded, want to do something meaningful, we can really offer you a very good platform, and that will certainly help you express your abilities in a slightly different territory, but I'm sure you will enjoy it. And since you also have social orientation towards creating social value, probably you should leverage this, and if time permits you, you must join us. Albeit you'll have to contest an election for that, but we are all there, don't worry.
I might absolutely take you on your word, Mr. Shukla, and come back to you.
Please come and join us. I would love to see you in the executive committee next year. Well, thanks
for your kind words.
Thank you so much, Arshi. And I would just like to add what our president just said. Even without joining the committee, you could support some of our missions, like the COVID mission. You could help us, because we also tried to reaching out to the community, supported them in terms of medicines, the people who are on campus, contractual workers, and there is something else also coming up. I would not like to talk about it right now, because then it takes away the surprise part of it. So please, you could get in touch with us for few things you are passionate about. For example, teaching.
Definitely.
So please, that it would be great to have you with us. Thank you so much, Arshi, for joining us and sharing your experiences. Wonderful hearing. Thank you so much. And with this, I would now like to invite Gurpreet Kaur from batch 2015 She graduated in 2015 after finishing BTech in textile technology, and thereafter started her professional career with Citibank in their investment banking division in Mumbai. After spending 2 years with Citi, she moved to pursue her higher education from Indian School of Business, where she graduated with an MBA in finance, and thereafter joined Integro Aviation in their corporate planning division in Gurugram before relocating to Singapore to work with Apple. So welcome, Gurpreet.
Hi, Dr. Gitanjali. I'm super excited to be here and hearing the inspiring stories from the other alums. It was quite heartwarming to hear everyone's stories. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah. So welcome once again, Gurpreet. Nice to see you all charged up. And I'm sure it's a homecoming for you today, the session with us. And so you graduated in 15, so like 6 years after you left IITD campus. So again, my first question to you, please share your journey and how your stay at IITD particularly transformed you, some of the challenges, some of the good things. So all that, please, if you could like share.
Definitely. So there's one course at IIT actually that has shaped my life to a certain extent, and that was like SML 401, which I took as an elective in IIT, and that's a financial management course. And taking that course made me realize, as part of the course, we had to do a mini project where we are supposed to analyze P&Ls of certain companies and come up with recommendations to increase their working capital and whatnot. And doing that made me, realize that I was good at, working with numbers and analyzing financial statements. And that, helped me, realize that this is probably the direction I can explore, post-graduation. So that's how my finance journey began, from a simple course at IIT Delhi. That was an elective with Dr. Shweta Singh from the Department of Management Studies. And after graduating, I started my career with Citibank. Citi has a 2-year graduate management associate program, which is a very renowned program, and they give the newly, minted graduates the opportunity to explore the world of finance. So I got an opportunity to work in the IB division, which is supposed to be like a very notorious place to work, and especially as a fresher straight out of college, working 12 to 14 to 16 hours a day was, it was gruesome for me, but I think IIT had prepared me for it. So all the hard, all the hours that we had put into studying, one night before the exam, that really just prepared us to, work late during, the first 2 years of my career at Citi. And that's how I further, got to know more about the field of finance and banking. And post that, I decided to, come back to studies and, maybe get some additional knowledge on the business side, which is why I went and studied with ISP. And I think one career decision that I had to make at that point was choose between, an IIM versus an ISP. And I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of alums do have like certain dilemmas of that kind, whether you want to study abroad or whether you want to study in India, right? Whether, or you want to go and study in Ivy League. And for me, it was pretty straightforward. Like I didn't want to go very far away from home, at that point in time. So I decided to study and pursue my MBA from India. And then between ISP and IIM, I do a lot of research, and that's also the time that I spoke to a lot of alumni, and they came to share their experiences, and the kind of network that the B school had, and the kind of support that the alums provided me with just made me go for it. So that's the reason I went for pursuing my MBA from ISP. And then post that, I worked with Interglobe Aviation for a year in their corporate planning team. And then, life happened. I was in a stable job, finished my studies. So parents forced, I wouldn't say forced, but, they expected me to get married at that point in time. And then my fiance was in Singapore. So that's the reason I decided to relocate. And so I was looking for opportunities. And then there was this really nice, exciting opportunity with Apple in their retail business. So by retail business, I mean the Apple-owned stores. And Apple's like a really big company, but on the retail front, they're just getting started. And like India, for instance, has no Apple-owned stores at this point in time. So they are going to expand. So they're in their expansion phase, and then they needed a financial analyst to support them, which is why I, thought of, helping them with my acquired skills at that point in time. And so I'm still with Apple in Singapore, and I'm actually flying back to Delhi next week. So I'm really looking forward to meeting my family after
do
2
come
years.
to the campus. Please,
I will.
do come to the campus and do visit
Definitely.
us.
Definitely.
Yeah, while you're on campus. Are you by any chance connected with Natasha? Because I understand
Yes.
Natasha.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's from my batch in
Okay,
textiles,
that's
2015.
great.
Yeah.
Because right now she's the joint secretary with
Right.
us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So really nice. So very simple, 2 quick questions.
Yeah.
Like you started working with Citi, and then you like took a break, then you like started studying. How difficult was it? Must be challenging from one side to the other side.
I think I was still, I started studying a little bit earlier than, probably a lot of other people do. So I worked for 2 years and then came back into studying, right? And the advice people give is, just finish your studies, because later on, at a later point in life, it's difficult to, get back into that rhythm and get back into the studying kind of environment. But honestly, like B-School is a very different environment altogether. You have people from different walks of life. It's not very different from a work environment, so to say. So it wasn't very difficult to come back to that environment, considering I'd just been in the workplace for 2 years. So fairly smooth, and definitely, again, I have to point that the years we spent at IIT do prepare us for a lot of these decisions and going forward in life. Yeah.
Special memories from IIT campus, hostel life.
Yeah, so I was also a part of Kailash Hostel, and like it was mentioned before, right? I'm glad that the diversity is increasing in IIT, and I'm hoping that the way we expanded from Kailash to Himadri, we soon expand to a third hostel, and we see that diversity question go even further up. But yeah, great memories associated with Kailash, with Rendezvous, with Hostel Day, a lot of great memories associated with the projects I did at IIT with, my IIT Delhi BTech advisor, Professor Butola, under whom, I worked and published a paper as well. Yeah, I think the one advice I would definitely give to, the students who are still at IIT and the ones who've probably just graduated is like, create as many experiences as you can and experiment as much as you can early on in life, because it's easier in the beginning phase of your life than later on when you've already specialized in a particular field, right? And the way to do that is just take up as many electives as you can. Try humanities, try DMS courses, SML courses, RDL courses, take up as many projects. You of course have your BTech project, but take as many other projects as you can, take up internship opportunities, as many as you can, because it's important to experiment initially in your life and then figure out what you eventually want to do before you even start specializing in the chosen area. So that would be one piece of advice for my juniors. Yeah.
So wonderful to hear your story, your experiences, and also your piece of advice. I think now I would request the participants if they have any questions for the panelists. We can take up 3-4 questions before we close.
I'll have only one remark on what Gurpreet said. That was more like a management student's answer than a technologist or technocrats. And I wish I had met you, Gurpreet, before you took your decision to join ISB.
We can definitely talk about it at length.
Sure.
Separately. Yeah.
So that's a wonderful school. I must admit that.
I agree with you.
There are 2 questions in the Q&A. I mean, of course, one is specific to Apple launching products customized to Indian market, which I'm sure Gurpreet may not like to share the business secrets, even if it is part of their strategy. But the first one is elaborate the importance of good support system, friends, and how did you cope up in the extremely competitive environment at IITD, which of course all of you have answered, but if anyone wants to make any specific observation, please feel free.
Just, I think it's important to have friends that you can laugh with. If I look back at my IIT days, I don't see it as being competitive or something that, I had to study. I only remember the fun and the silliness and finding the chipkali under the pillow and then everybody going crazy, and so I think it's important to have friends you can laugh with and do crazy stuff with. I know we came up with our own set of Newton's laws about hostel, that if you open this door, then this window will open, and another silly story I'd like to share. I mean, the way we used to, there are some young alum here, but in our times the bathrooms were really bad, right? and on our floor we had 1 bucket and we had 2 mugs, and because the showers won't work, and the mugs we had, one had a crack and the other one didn't have a handle. So we had to have a composite mug for anybody to take a shower, and anybody who wanted to go for a bath had to go around the whole, D floor, Kailash, looking for those 2 mugs. So, I think it's really important to have that bond and that fun at IIT, because it's about that at the end of the day.
I think that was a good secret to let out, because in the boys' hostel, we thought that the girls were getting far better facilities.
Oh, that was such a...
because they were in a terrible condition, I must say that.
Would you like to add something, Arshi?
No, I thought the question was aptly answered, but then I think the support system question was because I mentioned it in my outro, so I thought I would take a pass, but then aptly answered by Shivani as well. But then I think there's a synergy with all of us being from Kailash and the situation still being really bad. Not that bad, but then quite bad. Hope it.
Yeah, I'll add to that and say that and totally build that family, build that connection, and it's never, I mean, for me it was never, I don't think for most of us, it was never about competition. It was always about how to help each other, how to we were way on the other side, but oftentimes it'd be like, oh, you're calling your lab partner. We had this one phone that would connect to, we didn't, cell phones were not a thing back then, of course. So wo apna land call kar rahe hostel internal phone pe, yeah, we need this, whatever lab notes or kuch. So it's always about helping each other, and that's what I remember from IIT, and not I don't remember any competition. So that helped, and that, yes, definitely the group of the bonds that you build, and doing as many silly things as you can is a great way to cope through any tough situation. Yes, IIT for sure.
So thank you so much, all the panelists. It was really wonderful to have you, to hear your journeys, to hear your challenges, the advice that you've given to the alums who are who just passed out, to also the students who are still in the campus. So it was great to have you with us today, and great to hear all of you. So I'm sure it must have struck a chord, and I imagine that it's always good to talk and always good to come back on the campus. So next time, whenever you are here, please do visit the association's office. You're always welcome to have a cup of coffee with any one of us who is around in the campus. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us here.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone. Please keep coming and keep sharing your experiences. Incidentally, after 2 days, we are offering a welcome to the batch of 2021. And if any one of you wishes to share any thoughts with this batch, please feel free. We'll surely be very happy to hear your views.
Also, before I close, I would like to share that we regularly send you emails regarding the events that we are having through the association. So you could be part of some of the events, and you could also take up some of the initiatives that we take regularly. So please, you're always welcome to join us for our initiatives on COVID, teaching students. So please, and we'll definitely get in touch with you for the startup ecosystem. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.